Ministry Daily Devotion. I'm Pastor Judine Duerwaechter, co-pastor with the MCM. And today I'd like to bring you a daily devotion on Psalm 107. I'm going to read about 4 select verses, and we'll talk about how this might be meaningful for us today. So I'm actually going to skip all the way to verse 16 and begin with that one. For God has broken the gates of bronze and cut the bars of iron in two. He calms the storm so that its waves are still. He sets the poor on high from affliction. Whoever is wise will observe these things, and they will understand the loving kindness of the Lord. So again, 4 select verses, kind of skipping through the entirety of this psalm, but just giving you some evidence as to how Psalm 107 is really about how God preserves lives. And then as the psalmist teaches us, our whole responsibility is to be in thanksgiving of that. That's what the Psalms are about. They're utterly songs that are sung in thanksgiving. So today I thought, why not pick an example of a way that, from me to you, a way that God has preserved my life. And, a little on the dramatic side, actually, other than the ways that I simply breathe and you breathe, right? That's the way that God preserves our lives. We don't have to even do anything and we breathe, right? And all of the aspects of nature that provide for our health and well-being, those are ways that God preserves our lives. But I'm looking at an example as to where it is, you cannot make this up, and it is without question who saved me one day. And this is, again, a story of rescue. And I absolutely know that God was the one to do the rescuing, perhaps through me, but to rescue me. And I'll remember it forever and ever, as long as I shall live. Decades and decades ago, I recall driving in Sheboygan on the busiest street in Sheboygan, Business 42. I was driving in Sheboygan and I came across, there's a stoplight there now, but I believe at the time it was just a stop sign. And I saw these 2 little kids, little girl, no more than 2 years old, little boy crossing the street against traffic, taking a great risk. The little boy especially, he was a little older, maybe 5. And he made it across the street, and this little young girl, again, no more than 2, in his little dress, no shoes on, summer day, she's trying to discern, which her little brain could not, as to when it is she could take the risk of crossing the street against the traffic. And I saw that this was happening, and I knew that this was not going to end well. And I also saw in front of me a large Winnebago camper. It was as big as a house on wheels, literally coming against or in the opposite position of the way my car was facing. And this little girl already had begun crossing the road, literally to walk right in front of this camper, this Winnebago. So I, put my car in park, dashed out, left my car door open so that the cars behind me could see that there was a sense of emergency and urgency for me. And I ran as fast as I could to scoop this child up. And I did manage to scoop her up. And just as I did, I threw her against my chest. This is without exaggeration whatsoever. This Winnebago just stormed past me. I believe that person never saw us, and for some reason, really high in the driver's seat, I don't know, stormed past me, so much so that I have this child in my arms, and I had to lean way back because the Winnebago was no more than this far away from my toes and my nose. And I leaned back so as the child's backside would not get touched by this Winnebago as it flew past me. There was nothing but the mercy of God at the realm here. And I do feel, if I'm not mistaken, I may have said, God save us both. I can't even recall. And eventually, of course, I spent quite some time looking for the child's mother and the house they lived in the area, blah, blah, and all that ended up fine. But it was without question that this is what preserved this child's life and my life. Absolutely miraculous to me. And what I've come to know now theologically is that there's no level of difficulty in miracles for God. Love is love, and it is all powerful, and uh, there's just no level of difficulty. And when we just actually cry out in a fraction of a second with no resistance, our cries are heard. So I'm looking forward to you coming up with an example where God preserved your life. And you are so welcome to email that to me. I would love to have a conversation with you. And if you wanted me to share it, not mentioning your name, blah, blah, in another daily devotion, I'd be happy to do that. So do email me that at Judine at mcmunited.com. I would love to hear from you. And in the meantime, let us remember that not in only these unbelievable dramatic ways where God preserves lives, but in all ways and in all things that we are called to give thanks. I hope this is helpful, and I hope to hear from you. Until next time, take great care and remember to live to love. Bye now.